Wow. There's so much talk of science and technology that I'm almost inspired to talk about physics. Don't worry, I will not. Today I'm here not as a physics teacher, but as an educator with this term that has stayed with me for the last 20 years or more, international mindedness. A term that was introduced to me when I first started my IB journey 20 plus years back. A term that intrigued me, a term that tickled my curiosity, but a term that I realize, sadly, is used very commonly, almost casually, and almost sometimes irreverently in the IB. So here I am to talk to you a little bit about it. I mean, look at the term. It envelops the entire IB curriculum model. It explicitly is described at the forefront of learning in the IB, so it must be something really significant, right? So here I was, as an educator, I played around with some word puzzles, some mind games with my students, with the other stakeholders of the IB, parents, teachers, and I came across different words like consciousness, like perspectives, like cultural awareness, like lifelong learning. And then there was this word that could almost completely replace the word international mindedness, and that was world mindedness. It was like a mindfulness about the world around you. And that I understood. It's having an attitude, a disposition, an eagerness to understand, respect multiple perspectives, even if you don't accept them, to embrace them. Even more, it is a realization that your identity is dynamic in continuous negotiation with the world around you. For those uninitiated to the IB, I will take a step back and just tell you a little bit about this concept of international mindedness. It is something very dear and precious to the International Baccalaureate IB program model with its 3 pillars of intercultural understanding, engagement with issues of global significance, and multilingualism. It is a concept that IB really encourages students to embrace diversity, to go beyond their comfort zone in their local context and embrace global issues, and also to give them the understanding that having different perspectives is of great value. Multiple perspectives, we speak of it often. It's a consciousness that there is no right way or fixed way of focusing on an idea or a concept or even understanding something. It is also the understanding that an object of interest can have a very different meaning or value across countries and cultures. For example, beautiful women have been identified exemplary beautiful across countries and cultures, right? But we still come back to this very stereotyped description of what is beautiful that is so randomly promoted by media. So where are we as educators on this? Are we willing to embrace international mindedness? I started reflecting on this. This was my introspection. Am I willing to get into other people's shoes and actually understand and respect what they feel, even though it is so different from me? Am I willing to see what they see, or even take a step forward? As an international educator, am I willing to empower my students to understand that other people with their differences can also be right? It is this pursuit for international mindedness and, of course, my hunger to visit new places, go to new countries, meet new people, that I left India and went to China, a country as different as it could be from mine in all aspects of life, culture, language, food, people, everything. I landed up in this magnificent, almost regal campus of the United World College, Changshu, China. And I was delighted by the student body and the population there. It was as diverse as I could possibly expect. I had this small group of students with me as my advisor group, where every member came from a different part of the world. We all had a common struggle, by the way. We all struggled with learning Mandarin. So we really were challenged with words and expressions that were thrown to us in the school, outside, in the shops, in the market. So we all decided as a group, okay, let's learn Mandarin together. And that is what brought about a beautiful connection between us. It sort of superseded all our differences, and we all came together with this common goal of being a part of the community that we were there. We started doing so many things together. We played with colors to celebrate the festival of Holi. We sat in the evenings lighting lamps, talking about the atrocities and the genocide in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. We even talked about US elections with Trump winning, with the rule of the Republican Party. We did so many things together, and then I had heard that UWC is very radical. I was actually brought to realization of this very strongly. My daughter, with a bunch of other girls, donated their long, beautiful black tresses to chemotherapy-ridden cancer patients. Now, this decision was very difficult for me to accept. What? She's giving up her hair? It was very difficult for me, but this is where my unconscious transformation, I think, began, where I began to see people with their different perspectives, with their different viewpoints, with their different interests and goals. So that is what remained with me and perhaps brought me closer to my reach for this elusive international mindedness. I would remember these mandalas many years later when I was in Bangladesh, Dhaka, and students were creating Rangoli patterns which were incredibly similar. You know, remarkable prints of symmetry, color, very bold, very original, very raw, but with completely different perspectives of two very different countries and culture. So when I reached Bangladesh post-COVID, I came there with some fresh energy for a new start, with hopes and dreams of being reunited with what was my country originally before the politically manipulated partition of India and Pakistan. I was shocked into reality. The very strong feelings, the intense feelings of religious intolerance, the almost complete denial and unacceptance of other faiths and communities and cultures was not something I was prepared for. I interacted with students every day, and I was sad with the way they wanted to deny other communities into their own, their unempathetic approach to people who were diverse. Students had taken to streets. Educational activities were suspended, exams were cancelled. It was as if the government did not think education was a priority, in spite of the urgency of the situation. So my classes start getting emptier and emptier. I had students who were protesting against the religious ethnic minority groups, and they were out on the streets, and here I was in a complete dilemma. Am I a physics teacher just teaching magical phenomena in the classroom, or do I step out and become an international-minded educator? Sorry, I need to go back. International-minded educator who was trying to encourage students for peaceful negotiations, for embracing diversity, for understanding that IB was a curriculum which they were studying, promoted universal compassion and peace and understanding. I was at a complete dilemma on what I would be doing. When I left Bangladesh, I left with feelings of non-resolution. There were students who hadn't really come to any conclusion on this. Perhaps I touched a few students who understood that they needed to come together and embrace diversity, but I still had questions battling inside me. I reached Myanmar in January 2020, a country that was already torn or beginning to get completely disrupted with the effects of COVID-19 epidemic and the military coup. Myanmar actually saw a record high of school closure, 532 days. This was the highest recorded any number in any schools in the Asia-Pacific or the Eastern EAP region. When the military assumed power in November 2021, they did direct reopening of the schools, but by that time the children had lost about 3.5 years of valuable education. And the reason school enrollment dropped, the reason where school dropout rates plummeted alarmingly is because 30% of the teaching workforce joined the civil disobedience movement and were dismissed by the military authorities. The military in Myanmar had directed a nationwide brutal crackdown where people were hunted, there were mass killings, there were people on the streets being sexually abused and violently attacked. Students were taken to streets. My classes had students who would come wounded after an attack, or come where they would want to relate about a friend whose family had been shot down. And this was the class I was in, safe in my haven in one corner of Yangon. Was this fair? No, it was the only choice. These students were protesting against discrimination, against violation of rights. They were trying to defend the ethnic minority groups, but they were not being heard. The school had given us a very strict protocol. We could not explicitly or implicitly defend or stand up or support any student or even be an empathetic listener. So here I was in a classroom full of students who were wounded, sad, painful, rebellious, and I could not even listen to them. My dilemma grew, and then finally we did have to leave Myanmar for very selfish personal reasons of safety. But these questions keep battling inside me, whether it's Bangladesh or it's Myanmar or it's anywhere else. What is our role as an international educator or an educator who actually delivers a curriculum that promotes or is an advocate of international mindedness? Are we just passive deliverers of the curriculum in the classroom, or can we take one step further? Can we at least provide a platform to our students to have a discussion where they are facing a global challenge? Can we be empathetic listeners? I ask this question to myself every day. Am I doing enough as an international-minded educator? Are you? Thank you.